The biggest revelations from the first 4 episodes of Stranger Things 5 aren't just about 80s pop culture. They reveal Vecna's biggest weakness and the true origin of all the trauma in the Upside Down. And it all hinges on a single forgotten childhood cave.
That's really the heart of it, isn't it? And that's what we're doing in this deep dive. We're taking, a pretty complex stack of sources, the episodes, all the foreshadowing, and that crucial new lore from the Broadway play, The First Shadow.
Yeah, and we're trying to make the connections crystal clear.
Exactly.
Our mission here is to give you the shortcut, to just distill those core narrative threads. We want you to walk away understanding the why behind every little strange detail.
From a high school play flyer to, to how the whole concept of Vecna, of Henry Creel, is fundamentally changed. He's not the puppet master. He's more like a vessel.
Right. We're simplifying the history so you can really grasp what the ultimate stakes are, starting right back in Hawkins, where it feels that the final battle has truly begun.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Volume 1. What's the current status quo?
Well, first, the geography of it all is shifting. The Byers and Hopper are back in Hawkins. They're all crashing with the Wheelers.
Which is just maximum domestic tension right before the apocalypse. Perfect.
It's a lot. And you see the party immediately shift into high gear. Robin, for example, she's running this very public podcast. But it's not just for fun,
No, it's a code system.
It's an incredibly detailed code system for their plans right under the noses of, any military or government surveillance. It's brilliant.
It's basically espionage disguised as, high school radio club. And at the same time, 11 is going through this intense training regimen. It's almost spiritual.
And the goal is to just maximize her powers, right?
Yeah.
Specifically to break through that military-based barrier they can't get past.
And the Duffer Brothers are just so good at telling that story through pop culture. You see the physical part, the gray sweatshirt, the jogging, and you immediately get Rocky.
Oh, absolutely. Rocky 1, Rocky 3, that's the physical mastery part.
But the mental side is pure fantasy. It's Luke Skywalker training with Yoda on Dagobah.
Yeah.
She's learning to master the Force, essentially.
Or the powers that were granted by the Mind Flayer dust, which is a terrifying detail we will definitely get to later.
For sure. And tying all this together, as always, is Dungeons & Dragons.
Of course. The first episode title, The Crawl, it's named after a D&D dungeon crawl, this massive systematic journey through a dangerous place.
It immediately tells you their final fight is going to be tactical. It's going to be map-based.
And we get so many of these full circle moments.
Yes. The opening sequence finally shows us how Will went from Fort Byers to being captured. We see him singing, "Should I stay or should I go?"
It's this beautiful and probably very expensive payoff to a moment we only ever heard on a walkie-talkie. It's just, yeah.
And they're grounding everything in their own history. Hopper and Elle are walking on the same railroad tracks from season 1.
Which is such a clear visual nod to Stand By Me, searching for clues for a lost person.
Right. And they're literally using the tunnels from season 2. Even the grown-ups are speaking the language now. Joyce, of all people, has a code name. Dungeon Master.
The integration is complete. It's amazing.
But the real shift in perspective, I think, comes from the most innocent character, Holly Wheeler.
She's not just the kid sister in the background anymore. She becomes really prominent, and she's super imaginative, highly sensitive.
Yeah.
It really echoes Will's personality from the early seasons.
And her introduction is just loaded with foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Mike gives her a D&D character sheet. A cleric.
A cleric who can cast Dimension Door. And for anyone who doesn't play, you just need to know that Dimension Door is basically a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's instantaneous teleportation.
So they're handing us a literal plot device through a kid's game. It feels like they're suggesting Holly, the cleric, might be the key to an instant rescue.
A rescue like, say, pulling Max out of the psychic prison that Vecna has built around her.
Exactly. And she grounds their supernatural fight in literature, too. She's reading A Wrinkle in Time.
And the analogy she makes is, it's chillingly accurate. The book is about a girl struggling through space where minds are controlled by this dark entity called IT.
And Holly just explicitly compares Vecna's mindscape, which she calls Konox, to that. It's a kid using a story to frame absolute evil.
That's a perfect transition because we have to dive into that absolute evil now. And that means going deep into Henry Creel's origins, which the Broadway play The First Shadow has really clarified for us.
Yeah, this is where the foundation of all the trauma really lies.
Right. So to simplify decades of backstory, The play confirms Dr. Brenner wasn't just chasing random science, he was chasing a legacy. He was obsessed with Dimension X.
Okay, so what exactly is Dimension X in this new lore?
Based on Brenner's writing, it's essentially a pocket dimension, an alternate reality filled with, pure psychic energy. He thinks it's the ultimate source of human potential.
And he's doing his experiments near the Nevada desert where Henry Creel grew up.
Exactly. And here's the crucial new piece of information. When Henry Creel, as a little kid, finds that cave in the desert, he disappears for 12 hours.
And the Duffers confirmed this is where the Mind Flayer attacked him.
Yes, and this is the most important distinction. The Mind Flayer possessed Henry. It entered him. He didn't just become the Mind Flayer. The entity found a vulnerable vessel.
Wow. So that changes everything.
It does. This possession gave Henry his powers, but the entity forced him to escalate. It started with killing pets to get stronger. Then Brenner found him, realized the connection to Dimension X, and, Brenner urged him to start killing people to weaponize it.
That makes Henry Creel a victim, a horrifying one, but still a victim. It makes the final battle less about good versus evil and more like a potential exorcism.
For sure. And that's why it's so interesting that the play also reveals Henry wasn't always a monster. He was actually high school friends with Joyce and Hopper.
Wait, really?
Yeah, that detail, put right into his origin story, sets up this incredibly tragic narrative. It suggests the person they once knew is buried deep under all that horror.
Which connects directly to 11, right?
It does. The play confirms Brenner used Henry's blood, his blood, post-possession, for transfusions to pregnant women.
And that's how their kids, including 11, Jane Hopper, got their powers.
Exactly. Her abilities, her strength, it all traces back to the Mind Flayer's parasitic presence inside of Henry Creel.
Speaking of which, Vecna needs to kidnap 12 children in Volume 1. He targets Holly and Max. That number 12 seems really important.
It definitely holds symbolic weight. There are two main theories. The most common one is that it's a direct reference to the 12 hands of a clock, with his whole grandfather clock thing.
Right, his obsession with time.
But the other theory, which I find kind of more compelling, is that it's a nod to Stephen King's Dark Tower series.
Oh, interesting. How so?
In that series, there are 12 powerful guardians who hold all of reality together. So kidnapping 12 kids could be Vecna's attempt to corrupt or destroy the human pillars holding Hawkins' reality together.
That's dark. But regardless of the symbol, the real tactical weakness is the cave itself, which Max discovers.
Right. Max is trapped in Vecna's mindscape, and she realizes that when she hides in a cave memory, a specific dark place in Henry's past, Vecna gets violently agitated. He runs.
This is a huge vulnerability. The cave is the original site of possession. Is where the whole nightmare began.
It's the origin point. And the show points out that the cave's shape is identical to the physical structure of the Mind Flayer and Vecna's lair, and even what the Demogorgon sees, it's the structural center of all the pain.
And they just drive that point home when Holly finds Henry's old spyglass, the exact one he carried into that cave as a kid.
The objects and locations of his past are the keys to defeating him.
Let's talk about time, because Volume 1 is completely obsessed with it. Time travel, history, it's woven into everything.
It's almost hilariously obvious, right? The van sensor hits 88 decibels.
A clear reference to the 88 miles per hour needed in Back to the Future.
And Robin, our resident movie expert, even says, "Great Scott," and talks about the flux capacitor. It's a great callback to her season 3 confession.
But the most crucial discovery linking time and location comes from Max. She's in Vecna's memory prison, and she spots a flyer for Joyce's high school play.
The flyer is dated November 6th, 1959.
And that date is absolutely critical. It is the exact date Will went missing in season 1, and the same date 11 first opened the gate.
This show is telling us flat out that the origin point of the Upside Down's influence on Hawkins. It happened decades before Elle ever touched the Demogorgon.
It makes you wonder what happened on that date in 1959 to make it the perfect day for the gate to open years later. It suggests a ripple effect going all the way back to Vecna's teenage years with Joyce and Hopper.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you have all the horror homages, the Demogorgon breaking through the ceiling.
It's such an iconic mashup. It's Nightmare on Elm Street with a monster invading from a psychic plane. And it's also Poltergeist, another dimension invading a suburban home.
And the stuff in Max's memory prison is maybe even darker. The kid stuck to the walls with tubes.
It's a gruesome parallel to the facehuggers in the Alien franchise. It's just classic 80s cinematic dread layered into this final fight.
And this is where we can get into the deeper pop culture stuff. Linda Hamilton, Sarah Connor from Terminator, is cast as Dr. K.
Continuing the tradition of casting 80s action idols, it's perfect.
And you get a fun one with Murray. His decoy spy name, Austin Milbarge, is Dan Aykroyd's character from the comedy Spies Like Us.
It's those little details that really ground the show in that era.
Totally, and you can't overlook Robin's arc. Her girlfriend Vicky is clearly modeled after Molly Ringwald in Pretty in Pink.
And the show even gives us that deep cut on her playlist, Pretty in Pink by the Psychedelic Furs. It all highlights her journey to self-acceptance in the middle of all this chaos.
Okay, so let's get to the climax of Volume 1, which is all about Will's transformation.
Right. His ability to see through Vecna's eyes is already set up from his Season 2 connection to the hive mind.
But the confrontation in the finale is just brutal. Vecna tells Will he has feasted off his pain.
Which is a chillingly literal way to weaponize Will's internalized struggle as an outsider. And, specifically as a gay teen in the 80s. Vecna isn't just feeding on fear, he's consuming self-doubt.
So how vital is Robin's advice then, as like the counterspell to that?
It's the key.
Yeah.
It's everything. Robin told Will she found freedom when she stopped looking for validation in someone else like Tammy Thompson or even Mike and looked within herself.
And that moment of self-acceptance, remembering positive things like meeting Mike, building Fort Byers, that's what finally lets him reject Vecna's story of pain.
When that memory unlocks something spectacular and terrifying, Will unleashes a power that crushes 3 Demogorgons at once.
And he gets a nosebleed, just like 11. This is a massive, totally unexpected shift in the power dynamic.
So we have to talk about the Mind Flayer dust theory. We need to simplify this so everyone can grasp the mechanism. How does Will have L's powers now?
Okay, so if you connect all the dots, it goes back to the cave and the idea of possession. When Henry was attacked, the Mind Flayer, this entity, entered him. Think of the Mind Flayer as a spiritual pathogen, or like a residual biological imprint left by the hive mind. That's the dust.
So Vecna is the infected, super powerful vessel carrying this pathogen.
Precisely. And when Brenner used Henry's infected blood to create 11 and the others, he passed on that power source, that Mind Flayer dust.
And Will, who is fully connected to the hive mind in Season 2.
He was also exposed to and infected by this exact same dust, and it's now granting him abilities that mirror Henry and 11.
So this suggests the power isn't unique to 11. It's a latent potential that can be activated by trauma or connection to the Upside Down.
Correct. And that is why the information Max has is so critical. It implies that Max, trapped in Vecna's mind, fully absorbed into his consciousness, she could come back with similar abilities, and she'd be armed with the exact knowledge that the cave is his critical weak point.
So we've seen that Volume 1 is really just bringing everything full circle. It's focusing on that November 6th date and the single point of origin, the cave. The change in the lore that Vecna is possessed by the Mind Flayer, not that he is the Mind Flayer. It just fundamentally changes the final fight.
And the emotional counterpoint to all that cosmic horror is this realization that your internalized struggle is the enemy's greatest fuel. Will's power breakout wasn't just physical, it was a psychological victory. It was rooted in self-acceptance.
It proves the human element is the ultimate weapon against Vecna's mental warfare, which throws a really complex moral challenge into what looks like a simple final battle. If the Mind Flayer is what's truly controlling Henry Creel, and the party figures out that destroying the caves, the infection point, or exercising the Mind Flayer could free him, could the ultimate ending of Stranger Things be the redemption of Henry Creel? Could they save the former high school friend of Joyce and Hopper instead of just destroying the villain? That's the possibility this deep dive opens up for the final volume.
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell to the later update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end and see you in the next video.